Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Captain Kurt here, coming at you from Flight Junkies. We're down at our Florida Training Center, and I thought this would be a great time. We're coming up on 2022, and we have got the 2022 FLY-POD. This is the second one out of the production line. I have the first one. We had a prototype to see how everything panned out, and this is Gen 4 of the FLY-POD. It came out in the first year. There were different changes that were made after the first year. Gen 2 came out the second year, and we changed a few things. The third year, the motor mounts were changed to accommodate even faster take-on, take-off of the motor. FLY-POD, there's nothing like it. It's been the best-selling trike for over a decade now. It's really the choice of the pros and what you're going to want to fly if you've been flying for a long time because of the way that it flies, the aerobatics you can do. The other trikes just aren't built like this. And if you go to the other video that I have on FLY-POD or trike versus foot launch, you're going to see the difference of what the FLY-POD does that we'll go into. It's telescopic, it self-steers. No other trikes do what this does. It gives you pilot protection, has A-line assist, multiple hang points. Best thing is it pops apart with pins. And just when you think things couldn't get any better, it's been redesigned, and this is probably the last time it's going to be redesigned, but obviously you can see some quick noticeable changes, and they're not just for looks. There's a purpose and a reason behind that we're going to tell you about here in just a second. Well, the first thing you're going to notice is that the seat is different, and there's nothing wrong. This is a Gen 3 right here. This is last year's model. You can see they've been using a boat seat, which works absolutely beautiful. So if you got that, don't feel like you're missing out on too much. There's always changes and things, and you can always get a newer one if you want, but these work fantastic. Now the pods are pretty close to being the same. The front end is still the same, still telescopic, multiple hang points, A-line assist, but there's a few things different. Let's start with the seat. The reason that we changed the seat on it is because now you're able to the seat is actually more forward, putting a little bit more weight towards the front here. And as you can see that when we're not using the other FLY-PODs, I always taught the students, when you're not using it, just tip it back. Because with the motors in it, they're a little bit back heavy. But that's not a problem. We just tip them back like this whenever we're in the field, and if you look in the other videos, that's the way we had it. And so that's not a problem, because when you're sitting in it, it's okay. This one will actually hold its ground because we have more of the seat. We have the seat move forward. We have the extra weight to kind of balance it out, plus the pilot seeing it. And then if you come around to the other side here, hon, with that camera, you'll notice the enlarged gussets on the back here come totally from the side, and you can see the difference in these. We have now extended the rear gussets all the way back out, and boy, that's some thick steel on there. You're not going to bend that stuff up. These can really take a hit. This is extruded steel. The other ones are cheap. They're garbage. Even though they might be a little lighter, we don't have any problem. We fly like a homesick angel, especially with the motors that we use here at Fresh Breeze. But moving this forward, also we don't have to tip it back like this because it'll just stand like that. You've got a place, now this is a brand new one. Some of the other people that are already thinking about putting their stuff in here. We got one guy that is up at the field that's now got it, and he's got storage in here. What he did is Sergeant Billy D. Some of you have met Sergeant Billy D. from our field. We love the guy, he's like family. But he's taken his, and with the new seat on, he has taken his, and he's got a storage tube in here that he's got. He can just screw on the things in the end and put his wing bag in there. He can store tools in there, whatever he wants. It's got a great place. And of course, with the other one, you couldn't do that. You had to make custom side bags for it. And you could still make side bags for this. Another guy has the idea of putting another tank back here, or an extra tank that if he runs out, he can fill it right into there. So there's all sorts of things you can do to a FLY-POD to trick them out. But the nice thing is that this is moved forward now. It's the weight is forward. Again, we can still have the multiple hang points. Unbelievably comfortable seat. Incredibly comfortable. But the other reason for the seat is not only is it putting the weight forward, not only does it look great, but it also allows the pilot, since it's moving forward now, to do the most important thing, which is to be able to tip your head back far enough to look up to see that wing. With the FLY-POD Trike, you don't need a helmet because you've got all this protection. But the one reason people roll trikes, any trike, and ours is the hardest to roll because it self-corrects, but it doesn't mean you can't roll a FLY-POD. It's just the hardest one to roll over, and especially with the techniques that I teach for launching, it's a very hard trike to roll, but it can roll if you try hard enough. But if it doesn't self-correct fast enough, or you're not knowing what you're doing and you just mash on the throttle. But the main thing about flying a trike is you want to be able to look at your wing. And that's contrary to what a lot of people are teaching out there to their students. I teach my students to look at the wing, because what's the point of looking out here? You're not taking off in obstacles. So looking up at the wing and knowing that you have a wing that is centered over you is the safety point that you're going to need when you're doing your launch. Because students can't go by feel. They don't know what to feel, and they don't know what things feel like yet. They're new. So for starting out, that's the time that's critical in having things like being able to see the wing. Now, you can see them with this, but it makes it a little easier now that this is sitting back further and it's positioned at about I don't know what the degree is of this, but it really allows my head to look up and see the wing coming into view, whereas the other one, my head's kind of against the back pad. Which, by the way, when you have this seat on, when on Gen 3, you were able to use that pad as your shoulder pad, and so you have the lower lumbar for the regular cushion, and then the seat pad acts as a shoulder rest. Very, very comfortable. There's nothing wrong with that. But this one is all in one, and it also then allows you to, come on over here with the camera, it also allows me not to have to use my back pad. And what's the advantage of that? I get a little bit more airflow over it. It makes the engine run cooler, and there's no drag from it either. Then from that, air's able to get around that. I actually feel like I get a little, I don't know if it's in my head or if I feel like I'm getting a little bit more thrust because I'm not restricting all that airflow that's real close to the motor. So, and it also makes getting your motor, because this pops apart with 3 pins. If you haven't seen that, it's the FLY-POD's amazing, and this is one of the other things. A lot of the other ones, you have to do so much to get your motor mounted and unmounted from the trike. With ours, you pop 3 pins, the motor's off. A one-armed guy can do it if you watch it in the other video. And then 3 other pins take the whole FLY-POD apart, and all of this will fit in the back of a Prius. So there's no wrenching. You can do it all without tools. You can break down the cages without tools. If you haven't seen some of the other videos on what our motors do that the other ones don't have, watch that video. Subscribe to my channel below and see it. But the FLY-POD is looking great, very comfortable. They also have these leather cushions that can go over this, and so that's some of the new things on the new generation. Between the gussets, moving this forward and having all that extra space for storage, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. And I flew the first prototype, and man, it just flies perfect. It's absolutely, I didn't think it could fly any better, but it's just amazing. Having moved that seat a little bit forward, I get so much more out of it. It's a bit more comfortable. And I just think it looks fantastic. But hey, we just wanted to share this with you. They're now all future FLY-PODs are Gen 4, and this is again the 4th generation. Don't see how much we could change them now. We pretty much got everything down the way it's going to be. If they come up with something, I'll let you know. But this is the new FLY-POD. So any orders from this point on at the making of this video are all going to be this FLY-POD from now on, unless you request it. And the double-seater FLY-POD is still the same. We haven't had to change anything in that one. We can't put these kind of seats on the double-seater FLY-POD because you need to be able to get in there easy and out of it quickly. And the other seats work better. And we didn't have to change that one with the back gussets or anything because you have all that extra weight. So it's really set up to go. I hope you enjoy it. We have one in store for you. So if you want, give us a call. It takes about 5 minutes to do an order over the phone. And they're pretty close to the same price. The price only had to go up just a little bit. And we have free shipping. And of course, any purchase from Flight Junkies automatically saves you $3,500, $4,500, or even $5,500 that you're not going to pay for training, because that's what they charge anywhere else. And they only give you 7 to 10 days of training. We have unlimited free training for life, and not only for you, but any member of your immediate family, your kids, your spouse, or your parents. So thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, give me a call. Our telephone lines are open from 8 in the morning until midnight, 7 days a week. And we'll put that in the description below. And thank you for joining me. God bless.